Yo, yo. Alright, a lot of progress. I don't remember the last time I made a video. Probably before I had tonsil surgery. I'm done with that though. So, I'm cool. I can talk and shit now. But, as for progress, I did a couple things. I finished up the main optimization, so now my game runs basically 240 FPS all the time on my computer, which is like an old i7 and then a 2080 Ti, which is high spec. But even on my shitty laptop that's in the other room, it can run at smaller resolution, but at regular settings, it can run at least like 30. And I haven't fucked around with, like right now, my setting changes are very basic, and I don't have them in a way that, like, I didn't go in and make sure that high settings or that lower settings is actually more optimal than higher settings. It's just graphic fidelity. That's it. It doesn't necessarily mean that going lower settings will actually get you more FPS, because if you reduce quality but it's similar in cost, then you're not going to gain FPS. But regardless, I edited the particle effects and whatnot too. Of all the spells, I reduced them and did a bunch of stuff so that they don't drop FPS as much. They still drop, but I was playing Arc Raiders too, and I was realizing, yeah, whenever you find an enemy in a game and there are particle effects, you're gonna lose some FPS. For example, when you're fighting a bastion, I was in this car park basically, and this big robot was climbing or walking over the top, and I looked, and even in like a well-polished game, you lose 20, 30 FPS there. You're still getting like 80 or something, at least on my computer, but I don't have to strive for perfection. So, but optimization seems pretty good right now. Another thing was the forest level was for some reason the least optimal, even though it used to be the most optimal. And it turns out that the grass is somehow expensive, even though it's very cheap. Like it's very small. There aren't that many of them, but I guess there are enough to where when you render all of them on the entire map at the same time, it actually gets pretty expensive and you lose like 30 FPS. So I added a little, I just added a culling distance to the grass in the procedural content generator. I just gave it a radius of 50 meters, pretty much, so just 5,000 centimeters. And that's it. The grass that's outside that radius is cold and you don't render it. So as you're walking, you see grass, and it doesn't even appear to like pop in. You just, if you look far away, you can't see grass out there. And that's it, and it saves a lot of FPS. So all my maps run 240 FPS on my computer all the time. Excuse me. If you're fighting and stuff, maybe you go down like slightly below 200 or something like that, but that's it. I mean, it seems pretty good. I don't see anything that's not optimal right now. What else? For each of the levels, there's this directional light so that I could build the level. I just zeroed the luminosity so that it no longer shines through the walls, because I think there's something with the shadow settings. Pretty much that light is going through the corner of the ceiling and the wall next to it, and so I just turned it off so you don't see that anymore. Really simple stuff. I added surfaces in the settings so that there are stone sounds and dirt sounds, and then I applied them to various meshes in the game. That way, in the game, in the forest, if you jump on a rock, it sounds like stone, but if you jump off into the grass, it sounds like grass. And basically what happens is I go in a mesh, the mesh holds a physical material as well as a regular texture material, and what happens is every time you land on it, or every time your animation goes on the footstep frame, it triggers an anim notify, which basically just runs a function somewhere. And what the function does is it already has the player implicitly, the animating person, and all you do is you just draw a line down from the player to whatever the mesh is that you're hitting, and then you get the physical asset just by reference from it as one of its data members, and then you just do a switch and say, hey, if it's this material, do this sound. If it's this material, do this sound. Easy peasy. I added a check so that you can't join games that are fully started now. So when you create a game, you're in the lobby of your little session, your little server that you're hosting yourself. And before you've started the game mode, or before you've fully clicked start game, or the game automatically starts, it has like a 2-minute auto start thing, or if you don't touch it, it'll start after the game's been selected. So that basically the point is so that if I've started the game and the game is going, there are teams we're playing, new people can't just join in. And how you do that basically is I added an extra a setting property to the server, the sessions struct itself, and you add in this setting, and you can add in a boolean or a string or whatever the hell. And basically, what happens is whenever you find sessions, you can get those settings from them. And all I do is I say, okay, hey, I found a server, cool. Well, maybe I found it, I searched, and then I went and took a piss, and then came back, and then clicked join. Well, if only the find part was showing, so two parts. The find part is checking each of the servers, and before it adds it and displays it for you to be able to click on and join, it checks to see, hey, is that extra setting string game start, or is that extra setting boolean game started true or false? If it's true, don't show it, because we don't want to join games that have already started. So that's how that works. And then we just do that again whenever you try and join, so that if we do it once and it displays a server because it hasn't started yet, and then I go take a piss and I come back, when I click join, if the server is now full, it's not going to just automatically disappear from my list because it's not constantly refreshing. There's no way to get the data to me unless I refresh it. So you do. When you try and join, it searches for servers again, finds the same server that you were already clicking join on, and checks to see, one, is it still available? If it's gone, well, then it disappears and tells you to refresh. And doesn't instantly refresh, because then you might still have another server you want to click right away, so it's not going to just refresh for you, because that would be stupid. But it'll notify you basically that, oh hey, the game has already started, you can't join that. I should add like a little UI pop-up that makes it better, because right now it's just a print string. I'll show you that real quick. Right, so it's whenever we're clicking the joining. So whenever we're joining, it used to just be basically join session, but now it is find the sessions again and search for the same session we've already found. So this little server item is one of the individual servers that pops up when you search for them. It already has the session info in it. And so all we do is we get the extra settings from that session and we check the has game started boolean. Is it false? If it's false, then we can join it. It hasn't started. But if it has, then print and say, hey, can't join because the game has already started. But if the game didn't even appear at all, then that means that you've tried to join a game that is no longer available, and then prompts. So I'll just have two little like widget things that pop up and then disappear after a couple seconds, or if you click anywhere, they disappear, something like that. Yeah, and that's how it works for the searching for servers too. So that whenever we display servers as well, we just get the extra settings of that session and check to see, has it started? If it hasn't, then don't show it. Or sorry, if it has started. So if it hasn't started, I'm doing not, because if it hasn't started, add it. But if it hasn't started, if it has started, don't add it, because it's started. We don't want to play a game that has already existed. All right, that's already gone in progress. If it was like a fucking MMO or something, or like Call of Duty or something where you join an active lobby, okay, but honestly, I think just joining fresh lobbies is better anyways. So that fixed that. I gave names to crystals. I just added an extra property in the crystal so that they have names, and then I use that later on so that when you capture a crystal, it notifies the server, hey, this team, Wizards or Warlocks, has captured this crystal. That way you know. It doesn't just get captured and you have no idea. Previously it was just printing, but now it actually has voice stuff. I'll show you that in a little bit. Also, whenever someone dies, I basically check which team they're on, and then I print that the person's died, and then if a point was awarded to the other team, then it also prints that, and then I ended up replacing that with just actual voice lines that I recorded, so that whenever a wizard dies, regardless of whether he died to a player or not, we just say that, just because, oh, whatever, if you hear 5 wizards died and there are only 5 wizards on the other team, oh, okay, they all just fucking died to AI or your teammates, you can push now. So we do that. What was the point of this one? Team Deathmatch ends with correct team names. There was a bug with Team Deathmatch that I fixed. It was always printing something wrong, but that's fixed now. It doesn't really matter. Wizards are now... Oh, okay, yeah. Wizards are the ones who have the blue crystal, and Warlocks have the red crystal. Just makes more sense, I think. And then I added team materials to the Wizards, so whenever we actually start the game, and we have... Hold on, let me switch to just one. Whenever we start the game and we have this team selection widget here, These are the Warlocks and these are the Wizards. And when you actually start and spawn in the game, light spawn, you actually look like the Wizard. And then if we went and we were instead a Warlock, then boom, we're a Warlock. So we actually look like that now. I just match the materials whenever we start. And then what else? Oh, I updated the light particle because as part of my optimization, I stopped the light. So it's cool when it's dark and you shoot a fireball. I want the fireball to kind of illuminate the area around it, but I don't need the particles themselves in the fireball to do the illuminating. I can just have the whole thing itself just do one set of light. So if I had 200 particles here, I don't need 200 lights. I need one. So I did that. But with the problem though is how that light is rendered is handled differently than if it's a bunch of particles. Basically, with the light spell that you have to illuminate the area around you, that's the whole purpose of the light spell. It's here. And if you look down from it, and you have the emitter itself, the entire Niagara system doing the light instead of the individual particles, when you look down, it will no longer illuminate the stuff you're looking at. Only when it's in your view will it illuminate stuff. It's just how stuff is optimally handled. So like if I'm looking over here, I don't need stuff over here to be casting shadows and lighting and whatnot. That is different when the particles are doing it versus the emitter, the Niagara system itself is doing it. So I went back to that, back to each particle doing it, but I also reduced how many particles there are. So it's optimal enough, it's fine. I added ambient sound to the forest, found some royalty-free stuff. I fixed Fireball and Crunch, the spells that launch you, and there might be more of those in the future. Previously, whenever they killed somebody, I wasn't able to stop the motion of the character because I used this launch character built-in function to do the pushing in the direction of the velocity of the fireball. So if the fireball hits here and it launches the player up, once he lands, he just falls to the floor. And the problem with that is if you kill an NPC, NPCs drop, the rogue wizards, they drop spells when you kill them. Well, you need to see where the body is to know, oh hey, the spell is going to spawn there, instead of the body disappearing, and then you're waiting for the spell to appear, and then it's gone. The solution here was to read more in depth in the launch character function, and it says that it sets the movement mode to falling. So me setting the velocity to 0 and the friction to max and all this other stuff is an attempt to try and stop the motion where you are, so you get hit and you stop. If you die, you just stop. Solution was actually just set the movement mode to falling, or to none, so that it stops the falling. That's it. I just had to turn off falling, basically. And then, the settings, I had to go into the save game and the player settings stuff that I created. So we have this player settings, so that when you're actually playing the game, right, you have settings, keyboard stuff, and whatnot. But the default ones, the number ones are sensitivity, and then audio stuff. These by default in the save game object itself, I have these were set by default to 0 because that's just default float values. I set them to 1 and did the same thing in the game instance. That way, whenever you create the game for the first time and you open it up, it doesn't automatically load the settings as it does when you start the game. It loads the settings, but if it's loading it from the file and the file defaults to whatever the default values are, it's going to default to 0, and that means you're going to have to go in and manually add the sensitivity and the volume and everything the first time. It doesn't default to anything. So if you open up the game, you wouldn't hear anything, and you wouldn't be able to look around well, because 0 sensitivity is technically not 0. You can still look around, but it's very, very, very slow. So fix that. I just gave them default values. They're initialized now. I added a little microphone video because I don't know, with my current state of Visual Studio 2022, I get enough errors that if I include outside header files, the game will no longer compile. So I say, fuck it, okay. I gave up on my initial goal, which was adding a setting where you can choose your input device, so you can choose which mic you're going to use, because if your mic defaults to something else, you should still be able to leave that your default Windows mic and then set whatever you want for the game. Well, I can't do that because I have to custom code it in Unreal, because the only way around it is to pay for a plugin that already exists, because there are no free plugins that do this. I did a lot of research weeks and over a month ago at this point. Don't have a solution. So just like Mage Arena, just like Repo, just like other games that don't have the ability to choose your mic in the game, you have to use your default Windows microphone for the game. And to show someone how to do that is the best workaround. In the game, we have a little toggle mic help video. And it's just literally a recording of my fucking desktop showing you, go to sound control panel, go to recording, and set the default mic here. Notice that it is set to default and there are no other ones that are enabled. Boom. And that's it. And then we can just toggle it to turn it off. And that's it. Or just get out of the settings and it'll turn off as well. Boom. Audio. Boom. Okay, I can go back. Oh, going back needs to delete it. Noted. Didn't know that. Okay. I will fix that after this. Oh, I think the sounds for other teams capturing stuff and respawning, you weren't able to hear because it wasn't multicast, so all clients weren't hearing it, only the server was. That's fixed now, I think. It's all multicast. Excuse me, so all clients hear them. Excuse me. Because I use a play sound at location node, and if I execute that on the server, only the server hears it. I have to do it on the server. The server has to multicast it, so you have to do an RPC so the client tells the server. Well, rather the server does it, and the server tells everybody, their local clients, to each play the sound so that everybody hears it at the same time, and everybody hears it at all. Oh, I added. Wait, what is this? Hold on. Oh, I was creating a function basically to take the player and take the crystal that was captured. So, or not the player. It feels like there's like spit up here or something. All right, we're good. To take the team that just captured a crystal and to take the crystal's name and use those to choose a voice line to play. The wizards have captured the east crystal, something like that, or the center crystal, or the Warlocks base crystal, etc. That stuff. And I eventually added that. I'll show you that in a sec. Actually, that was this. So I added the sound wave so that when a crystal is captured, it plays that out. And so here we'll do it real quick. And you'll technically hear one that's overriding it because there's also, I added them as well for when the game ends. It says which team won out loud. Instead of doing like a different sound depending on if you won or lost, then we have to go from not just play a sound that everybody hears and not just, oh, display this for you, actually choose specific sound effects so that these people hear this and these people hear this, which is different than just playing a sound to everybody. And I said, oh, it makes more sense for me to just say everybody hears that the Wizards won and it's even. That's it. It's not like, oh, a positive sound for these guys who won and a loss sound for the. It's just the same shit. It just makes more sense, I think. So whenever we're on the forest, for example, and we capture this flag, it's going to capture the objective and the game's going to check to see, hey, is the game over? And the game will be over because the enemy team is dead. So the game should just end and you'll hear the sound here. Technically, you're going to hear. In the background, it's going to say the Wizards have captured their base crystal or whatever. But at the same time, because the game is over, louder, it's going to say the Wizards have won. The Wizards are victorious. Something like that. So I'm tempted to check if I can split those so that they don't play at the same time. I'm not sure if I just reduced I don't think I reduced the volume. Like one solution is to add a component in the VoIP in the game state itself, and I just use it to play the sounds, and then I somehow create basically like a buffer so that when a sound is played and another sound is already going, we somehow check to see how much time is remaining on that sound, wait till it's over, and then continue with the next sound, but I'll have to figure out how to do that. For now, the sounds all play at the same time. There's no buffer, but I'll add that because right there, for them to both be loud enough for you to hear and not have one be insanely louder than the other, they kind of muffle each other if they both play at the same time, which for domination capture the flag capture the flag will there, but capture the flag really ends whenever you kill the enemy team. So you would hear somebody died and you won at the same time, but it should be two separate announcements. And really it would be delayed because you would see the notification that you won. Or maybe we just cancel it. Maybe we say if one is ongoing, then we just stop it and play this one. So I'm not sure. But then if the Wizards started capturing their thing, and then before they finish capturing, or like before that notification finishes, the other team has captured something, you should still know. It shouldn't just cut out and then do the other side. I think I'll do a buffer thing. But so I added those sounds. You just heard one. And then I increased deodorant speed temporarily for a sec so that I could move around the map quicker and debug stuff faster. And then I could just add like a thing where I click my mouse, it teleports me forward. That's probably actually a lot better. Oh, so I also added the voice cues whenever a team actually wins. And then I increased the attenuation distance, and I increased the initial radius distance of those announcement sounds. There's an attenuation that those sounds go into that determines how far the sound travels. And I increased that because there were some parts of the map where you couldn't hear it or it was too quiet. And then I fixed a bug where when I initially, way back, flipped the colors of the Wizards and Warlocks so that Warlocks had red crystals, Wizards had blue crystals. I flipped some of the logic, but I forgot to flip all of it. So there was a bug where whenever you were capturing a crystal, if the crystal was already captured by another team and you were recapturing it, basically you're taking control of the crystal, the logic was checking to see if whoever already captured it wasn't fully capturing it. That makes sense when you're capturing it yourself, because if I'm capturing it and it's not yet fully captured, we should continue the capturing process. But if I'm capturing it and they've captured it, they have fully captured it. So it will never even allow me to start capturing it, because if they've fully captured it and I get on the point as a separate team, and before I can start capturing, I check to see if they're not fully captured, it's never going to start capturing because they have fully captured it. So fix that. I just flipped all the logic now. Whenever you die in the game, or whenever the game ends, so we'll capture the flag real quick, blink, blink, and then whenever we do this, I'm going to click resume, and now it works. Previously, clicking that wouldn't enable input, and it was because I created the game mode over, game mode in, or the game over widget, and then I revamped the logic to enable and disable input for the player, for widgets, for other stuff. And that made that widget not work properly anymore. Now I just use that new logic in that old widget, and then boom, easy peasy, that's fixed. Oh, I added a better respawn visual for capture the flag. So I'll show you the visual real quick. So I drew these little guys. Cross. I had one that was going to be, one of them was a bat, and it looked sick. Here's you can respawn, here's you can't respawn. And one of them was a bat, but that looks more like a team logo or something. It doesn't say, oh, hey, I can't respawn. So instead we have, hey, here's your cross. This is your respawn token, icon, whatever. And then now it's dead, you can't respawn, which makes sense. And then the wings are all wimpy and shit, and the guy's blood red, and he's got a wound on his chest and shit, and then boom. So now, whenever we go in and we haven't captured the flag yet. We don't own our base, so we can't respawn. So our icon is dead. But whenever I capture this, it will swap over, and I can respawn like that. But the game is technically already done there, so it doesn't matter. There was my auto countdown in the game state. Whenever the game mode is chosen, it starts a countdown that automatically updates for everybody. All right, hold. Wait, wrong stuff. What is it? Increment? Countdown? Start? Auto start. There's a countdown. There's a timer that triggers whenever you select the start part of the game, and a timer will go off every second until 120 seconds pass, and every second it will decrement the timer and update everybody's widgets to show, hey, there are 119 seconds left until the game automatically starts, because the game's ready, the host has chosen the game mode, but he's AFK. He isn't clicking start game because maybe he's waiting for more people. We give it 2 minutes so that the game starts, and then it goes. That's it. Let's see. Oh, and it checks so that once the countdown's over, it stops the timer and starts the game. The problem is if you manually start the game by clicking start game in the widget, it will go here and move all the players. But the problem is it doesn't clear that timer. That timer, the auto start timer, will eventually tick all the way down. It will also move the players to their spawn points. So you'll be playing the game, and then 2 minutes later, I never realized it was always 2 minutes later. I always was in a different spot because I'd be testing different stuff. And then, excuse me, we get teleported back to spawn for some reason. I was like, what the fuck's happening? How is the logic getting triggered twice? Well, it's because the timer was never cleared again. So whenever you click it at all, we clear that auto start timer just in case it's going. If the game auto started, well, then this timer's technically already cleared and it's redundant. But it's not actually redundant because this thing I made a while ago that just checks to see, is the timer already ongoing? If it's not, ignore it. So it's fine. It's not a waste of any resources. But if I click start game, it clears the timer. That way it never executes again. Before, I would click it and it would start the game, and then 2 minutes later, that timer is still ticking. And then out of nowhere, everybody gets teleported back in my packaged game. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? That was it. So simple. I just thought of that out of nowhere. I'm like, wait a minute. The timer hasn't been cleared. And then I went in and confirmed it by checking. Let me just find every time auto start timer is used. Oh, wait, actually, let's go to the variable. I wish you didn't. I wish you could see find references with that too, but you can't. I was only getting the auto start timer one time. I was only ever using it once in this function where we clear it when we have finished the countdown. But if I'm never getting it ever again, then I'm never clearing it ever again. Now we are. Easy peasy. And then, so that's fixed. So now that doesn't happen anymore. These were both fixed. I was trying to fix it. I didn't know what was happening. And then finally fixed it. And then I updated the widgets so that in this tiny little resolution, these are still centered and not fucking off the screen. What I had to do is I went into the widgets and then like the score widget. And instead of these being anchored to the center or anchored to the whole screen previously, what I did was I had to go in, I just Googled and stuff online said, oh, use the corner anchors. So now everything is anchored to the corner. And instead of using position, which I might have been, I don't remember, I made this a while ago, we use alignment alone only. Most of my stuff, I use alignment. But the older stuff, I didn't. I was probably using position. Everything now is anchored to a corner so that regardless of the resolution, it's still anchored there. And the alignment, I think, considers your aspect ratio and your resolution so that it stays where it's supposed to be, even with the smaller screens. So if I go like this, boom, 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 cool. If I go like, actually the main example was the respawn icon. This guy's in the bottom right. And then when I went to a small one, I couldn't see him anymore. But now he's there. So solid. What else? Oh, I changed the volume of the announcements, but now I need to add a buffer. And then I added custom names to creating a game so that you can create a lobby for your buddies and then name it a specific thing so that people can find it and scroll through and shit. So now you have to go full screen because the font's real tiny. So here I have a note too, just in case you can do solo play, but if you do and you capture an objective, the game's going to end because the enemy team's empty. And I have to do that because I could have a thing where it checks to see what's the max player amount, but then I have to pass that info separately and it's kind of a pain. So I'll have this for now. Maybe I decide to do that, maybe not. Regardless, this works. It's basically saying, hey, if you're playing solo and you capture an objective, the game's going to end early. So if you're fighting AI and whatnot, have fun, but don't capture any objectives. Because if you do, there's no enemy team. So when you capture it, the game's going to end because it's going to think the enemy team is losing by default because there is no enemy team. But by default, this will default to your, like, it's not IP. It has nothing to do with IP as far as I can tell. This is like your default server name. And I don't really know where it's determined, but this is what happens when you're not connected to Steam. But if I instead do a standalone game and Steam is on, we'll just wait a second here. What we do is we pull the Steam name, and that by default will be your game name. So it'll be like Ethan's game in this case. But you can change it and type it in to name it whatever you want so that your buddies can choose the correct game. You can always invite your buddies too, or you could just name it fucking Chill Lobby or whatever the fuck, some gay shit, I don't know. Almost there? We good? Oh, it's already open. Here we go. I'll just do full. So I can go in here. See, now it defaults to Ethan's game because my Steam name on here is Ethan. But I could name it whatever the fuck I want, and I already tested this. You can have another guy, and he'll search, and then it'll get that name. How does it get that name? Well, if we go back to the multiplayer widget stuff, and we go back to those little individual server items, what happens is I added an extra setting whenever you create the game. Just like before where we have that start game thing, where whenever we start the game, we set that to be true so that we can look, joining people, searchers, will check that session and see that it's in progress, and they won't be able to actually join or see the server. Same thing, I just added another extra setting, and it's called session name, and it's text. And all it does is take the text that you chose. Either it defaults to your name so that it's not blank or some random shit, or you can edit it. Regardless, that gets saved, and that is used. We just pull that string out, and we set that to be the name. And if for some reason there is no name, we weren't able to find that setting, we just default to what it already was before, previously, the server name, which is some random looking shit. That's it, I think. That's it, yeah. I brought my piano back to my apartment, my digital piano. And so, I'm going to play music and make the music for the game, some background. I feel like I want to do I need lobby music or like main menu music. And then I might do music for the hall map, just like some background ambience. I wanted to see if I can learn some battle music or something and play that, make something up, improvise. And then, I don't know, because that would just be cooler. Like, it's so much better having ambient music going, like in the forest. Like this, much better than nothing. Just having sound is so nice. Very nice. And see, no light from the corners. It's good. Yeah, here, I'll show the frames. Trash here, but in the actual packaged game, I have two things. I'll have to remember those in a sec. In the actual packaged game, this is not recently packaged. I packaged this a couple days ago, but this is before I made a bunch of progress in the past. A shit ton today, but a lot in the past, like 2-3 days. So, frames. Much better. It's basically always 240. I mean, you could see the 4 and it's staying there. Granted, like, sure, sometimes it goes down to like, I don't see it going under 100 or going under 200. I don't see a 1 ever. But that's it. I don't see that 4 milliseconds changing either. So it's definitely staying at over 200. That's good. And that's regardless. Okay, it's not regardless of the graphics. That is not noted. At high, it's 240. But at max disables PCG settings. So it renders all the grass in. And it probably does some other texture shit. So high is 240. So I might just delete the max settings. I might delete it. Oh, I didn't mean to actually fucking close the whole game. Nope. What else? Oh yeah, I'll show you that for all the maps. This is the most intensive map. Spells and AI and shit calculations going on right now. 12 FPS. See, it's 240 all the time here, 240 all the time here, but when you're actually in the game, blink. Actually, you don't have that, but we'll go to an enemy real quick. Light spawn. Yeah, and see, and now I can look around and I'm not looking at the light, but it is still illuminating everything so I can see it. Because before, it was only working when I would look up and have the light in my periphery. It was like right here-ish. Oh, okay, so somehow that was, all right. Freeze. Okay, so actually that just went down to like 120 FPS or something, but how are we already done it too? Oh my God, okay. Okay, so some of that shit's expensive. I might need to mess around with the shield or something like that. I mean, it's not crazy, but still, wait, what? Oh, I died. It was captured the flag. I couldn't respond, so the game ended. The thing was on the screen telling me that it's going to end in 10 seconds, but I already fucking didn't even see it. Might make that text bigger. Okay, so the next two things to do. For the microphone help video, I need to make that go away whenever you click the back button to get out of the audio menu, because right now it doesn't. And then Oh, and whenever you close it, but it already does that when you close it because it removes it from parent anyway, and whenever you open it back up, it resets. So that, and then the other thing is a buffer for the audio, so that when I play an audio thing, that one fully plays out, and then the next one plays out. There might be a little delay, so that if the game ends and it's over, it'll first play the sound of the flag being captured, but then it will play the game victory sound. And so I could either make the victory sound trump everything, which I could do, or I have it be buffered like everything else, where if a guy dies at the same time that a flag is captured, one of those happened first, or one of them is at least measured to be first because they can't be at the same time. So one of them happens, that one plays out, and then another call to the function happens, and then it gets added to the stack. Excuse me. And then when the first one finishes, it pops off, and then finishes the second call to play the next sound cue. Something like that, some sort of buffer. I think that makes the most sense because right now it's jarring whenever you win the game by capturing a flag or something, because that sound plays at the same time and overlaps with the even louder sound of the game is over because somebody won. So need to add that. That is next. And then maybe I still have to go and fix the AI more because I went down to like 90 FPS in the packaged game. So a drop from 240 to 90 is trash. Granted, that's when the particles are going. I don't know how many guys are being rendered right there. And I still get way above 60, even with a shit ton of those guys going on at the exact same time. So, but I don't know. That was a lot of FPS lost there. So I'll have to test that out again. But alright, that's it. Big boy progress.